Hey guys, I just got back from my locals and I went undefeated. It was a little bit of a smaller locals. We had 10 guys coming through. That's because we had like a really severe flash flood in Durban where I stay. So most guys couldn't make the trip to come to locals, and it was 4 rounds, 10 man, and I think I had the hardest run to I've ever had in the locals. I played like four of the really good players, arguably like the best that we have in Durban, and I was really lucky today. I went 4-0 undefeated, but I lost a game in every single match. Everyone was 2-1, 2-1, 2-1, 2-1. First round, I went up against Centurion. Normally the guy plays Raziel. Yesterday he played Maliss. Today he just decided to play Centurion, and he's a really, really good player. It's a really, really good matchup, and he did really well. I was lucky that there was a slight misplay on his side. So what happened was, on his turn, I used D barrier in game 3, calling synchro, and I used my MTPO7 to banish my white binder that it was set this turn, because I set it on his turn. I banished my white binder and I banished the card he controlled because I still had the link 3 red ransom, and I didn't use the white binder effect to come back. The reason for that is because I also had set GW6 that I wanted to bring back the white binder and gain the 2-3 life in time. But the misplay from him was, even though it was closing in on time, he forgot that red ransom switches the attacks of all the monsters. And for that, he could have used his, I think it's a Centurion Gargoyle or so, excuse me, to just beat over one of my monsters. And then I would have taken the 700 damage and I would have been a little bit behind. But if the game went further, he was OTK'd. He just forgot about that and he just conceded there. And that was a misplay from him. That game, I didn't have any misplay. Actually, no, in that game, I did have one misplay where I had TB11 in hand, and I should have set my TB11 because I didn't really have a starter. And if I did that on that route, I would have played around the destruction card that he had, because he had a Centurion that summons back, pops a card on my field and his field. So if he was attempting to pop on my field, I would have changed the TB11 to banish, and then I'll still have been able to continue from there, and he would have been in a really, really rough spot. So that was the misplay in that game. So going forward, I need to remember I should always look to be setting my trap cards, even if it doesn't seem like it's needed right now. It's always a good habit to set them if you know the board that your opponent has, because I did pick up on that misplay, and because of that I set the card on the following game, and not the following game but in my last game I set the card, and what happened was my opponent had a rabbit and he used the Azarun statue to summon itself out, and then the rabbit to pop my trap before I could even use it. So I guess there's arguments to be made to setting it and not setting it, and you just need to know when is the opportune time to do either one. Then on the next game, I versed Raziel, and he was against a guy who won many regionals, one really good player. And game 1, I shifted him, and he summoned, I think it was Ice Raziel or so, and then I impermed the ice, and he had the sword, and he made detonator pass with 3 back row. Now I was under the impression, hey, one of those back row is imperm, and when I summoned Dormouse, used its effect and banished, I saw he didn't imperm me, but it still played in my mind, that's a imperm, that's a imperm. So I made Haggard, I didn't make Haggard Lizardos, I made Lingeribo to potentially negate the imperm. And I baited and burned through some of his cards, and then I had talents to take his detonator, which already burnt its double pop. And that's where I made my misplay, because from that state I had some small monsters and a Lingaribo, and I got greedy. I'm like, hey, this is game. Make Crypto go for game. And I made the Crypto, and it was Solemn Strike. So he paid the 1/5 and struck. And that was where the game took the turn for its worst. And he explained to me, hey, I didn't imperm your Dormouse, which means the sets aren't imperm. What I should have done is, once I went talents to take the Detonator, battle phase attack, put him on a really low life point, and because of that, he won't have enough life points to activate the strikes. So if I did that, and then main phase 2 made my Crypto and his Detonator made SP, and then Crypto come back, it's going to be, again, a really hard position because Crypto's got the arrow pointing up. So I'm going to have the Crypto to shuffle back, banish, the SP to banish, and he's on top deck. So that was the real bad misplay, and I ended up losing that game. The next game, he went Sword Raziel, I impumped, he sets a few bits, and he passed. And I OTK'd him. The next game was a little bit of a back and forth, but I managed to beat him, I outgrinded him. So those are small things that I'm beginning to catch a little bit more of by playing the deck more and more. Ironically, I don't have this deck for a long time because I was away for Yu-Gi-Oh! From the whole of March, December, and 2 weeks of Jan. I was out, and I only built this deck and got to play with it from like the last week of January to maybe the start of Feb. That's because I was judging our regionals and I didn't really get much chance to test or play the deck. So every week that I'm playing it, I'm looking at my misplays, I'm looking at where I can improve, and yeah. The next game was game 3, and I went up against my really close friend James, and he was playing the mirror match, Maliss mirror match, one of the worst games ever. And again, I learned from my mistakes. Don't overextend into the nib. Stop them, cut them off from the link 3s, and play back row hate first, because the back row is the way that they play on your turn. Watch out that you can nib them on your turn if they get too greedy and extend too much. And it came in clutch. So he played, I stopped him quite a bit. I really put him off the links, and then I nibbed him. And he passed with a pretty horrible board of just nib and nothing. And on my turn, I managed to OTK him. And that was game 2, because game 1 I won. I built a pretty much unbreakable board, usual Maliss. And then game 2, he won. He lanced me and he did some other things and I just couldn't play. And then in game 3, which was really, really clutch and really, really nice, I'm trying to remember how it went. I think he won game 1 and I won game 2. That way he was forced to go first game 3. And I played into the Dominus Impulse again, which is fine. And that's when I learned that, hey, if you're a Maliss player and if they banish the MTP 11 of White Binder, it's a potential Dominus Impulse in hand. So you must play around that. And that's where I made my misplay, because I had Baldrake and Dormouse in grave, and I waited for my turn to use the Baldrake, as opposed to using the Baldrake in his end phase to banish my Dormouse to summon itself. And then on my turn, I would have just had Dormouse to go full combo and win, and I could have 2-0'd him. But that's where I misplayed in game 1. Game 2, I won, and then so in game 3, he went first, and that's when I really hit him hard with the nib, and he just set like 4 back row pass. And on my turn, I'm like, okay, cool, Duster, call back row. Well, you don't call back row, it's just Duster back row, and then he chained his MTP 07 to add, and I crossed out it. So then he's left with nothing and 1 card in hand. So I'm like, hey, he's got nothing, 1 card in hand. Let me really push through and threaten game on board. So I went full, because I'm like, if he doesn't have Imperm, Imperm's not winning, Ash is not winning, Droll isn't winning. The only card that saves him remotely is Nib. And I'd rather play into this Nib knowing that he's got no card in hand and I got a lot of advantage. So I played into the nib to really threaten OTK on board, and like clockwork, he nibbed me, and I'm like, sure, great. Saw it coming, me bro. And then on his turn, he drew for turn field spell, and he went field spell to banish from deck. This was his misplay. He banished the Dormouse from deck and declared effect of Dormouse, pay 300 to summon itself out. When I nibbed him, he had all these names in the grave. So I'm like, really nice. My set called by the grave, target the Dormouse, banish, negate, and now he is just cooked. On my turn, he already knows I added the field spell because I didn't burn through it. I kept it in hand to play through the nib, and I was going to use it on his turn. And then on his turn, I just went, right, anyway, my go. Field spell, banish white binder, binder, come back, banish 3, and he's like, just take game. It's way too much at that point. So I'm like, shot. Cool. That was a nice, sweet one. And then the next game was against... So my last round was against the Snake Eyes guy, like I said. Again, really good player. He's in contention to get Player of the Year. He's extremely, extremely good. And so what he did in game 2 was he went normal summon witch. So he sends a card, summons witch, effect of witch. And I'm like, okay, I got Ash and I got Imperm. Let's just Imperm this thing. So I Imperm his witch. And then he's like, ouch, that really hurts. He sets up a little bit of back row and he calls it turn. And I'm like, cool, my go. Draw for turn. And in my draw phase, he doesn't do anything. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Normal summon Dormouse effect, and he chains Lancia. And I'm like, okay, I got Draw Swarm in hand. Chain Draw Swarm, banish the Lancia. Lancia resolves, but Draw Swarm and Dormouse is on board. I make Dark. Draw Swarm, target the witch, send it to grave. So the witch goes to grave. Now, the South African Haridals are making their call. So I go Draw Swarm, target his witch, send his witch to grave. Dark effect, target the witch to summon it back. He goes Imperm on Dark, and I'm like, great. Because now I've got the witch out the field. His misplay was, when witch is sent to grave by opponent's card effect, he could have discarded a card or did something and set the sinful spoils or whatever. And then he could have set the wanted or whatever. He could set the wanted. And then on my turn, I had Ash for the wanted. But he could have still went wanted, banish, draw 1. Which would put him in a really good spot. But he just missed it. It was a little bit of a... It was getting a little bit late at that time, and I mean, everyone makes these small misplays at times, and that's how you get better. You get better by doing the wrong things, ironically. So I just attacked for Dark, and then his draw for turn, he's now on top deck mode. He draws in grave, and he passes turn. And I'm like, that's game. Because now I just summon Dormouse, Dormouse again. I summon Dormouse, Dormouse, banish White Rabbit, come back. And then I linked into Crypta, and he's just like, that's game. That's too much, because I also had Draw Swarm in. I drew another Draw Swarm for turn. And I Draw Swarmed his witch. And the writing was on the wall at that stage. So it was, again, it was really good. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed my games today. The few misplays that I had, I learned from it. And yeah, let's get down to the deck profile, because that's what you guys really want. Starting with the Maliss, 3 Dormouse, 3 Rabbit, 2 Chessy Cat. If you play more than 2 Chessy Cat, I don't care if you're playing the Lurble with a lot of Bestials, it's wrong. 2 Chessy Cat is the right number. If anything, I could play this at 1 and be happy with my life. But you need 2, because in your combo, you're going to burn through both in the first turn. Again, 3 field spell. There's arguments to play 2 field spells. I see it, I understand it. But guys, this is your nib play. Like, if this threatens the nib, like if you have this in hand and don't burn it, they nib you. Great, you still got field spell to continue. You got field spell on the kickback. This field spell banishes from grave. It's a non-targeting banish. So even if you go field spell and they chain call by the grave on one of your monsters or something, just banish another thing. Like, it's such a versatile card that we don't really use, but there's arguments to play that too. I still play 3 because I paid a lot for them. I'm going to play 3. And then 1 of 3 traps. I don't think you can cut any of these 3 traps. I don't think you should play more than any of these 3 traps. Going forward, normally the line is to always go TB11, TB11, TB11. I do see lines where GW06 is the better line to play. And I think that just comes down to more that you play the deck, the more that you see different lines. Like there's very linear combos in Maliss with a few deviation points. Like you can choose the path to go the Griffin Lock or choose the path to go Firewall bouncing and stuff. The more you play the deck, the more you start seeing better lines. And yeah, so that's just it. Then we go for the Bastille Engine. 3 drawers, 2 Baldric, 1 Magnamart. Again, I saw guys playing the 10 Bastille count, where they just play 3 drawers, 3 Baldric, 3 Saronia, 1 Magnamart. I don't think it's right. Again, I was on the Saronia build. It's cope, it's to win more. I make the same arguments every week, and I'm seeing it more and more. Like, again, guys, I really feel you can cut 1 Drosworm, 1 Baldric, and just play these 4. Like, that is a genuine thing that I can see myself doing. The reason for that is Baldric is expensive, not Baldric, Drosworm is expensive, so why not sell it and make some money and then get them in Stampede? But the reason why I say it might be a really good play is because I'm seeing so many of the Bastilles. Like against the Centurion player, on his turn, I ended up with 3 Bastilles on my field. Like, because I had 2 in hand and I just added 1 of Mag and banished. Like, there's just so many Bastilles that sometimes it really clogs up your hand, and Lancia on the Bastilles really hurts. Like, then they're not really extenders, they're not really doing much. But, yeah. I would consider cutting it, but I think I'll just carry on with this for now. Until the new support comes out, I think your Bastilles are your best friend, but it may be something to look at. I'm not 100% sold on this Bastille count. And yeah, then for my hand traps, 3 Imperm, 3 Ash, 3 Shifter. I didn't draw Shifter once today. I didn't shift. Oh no, I lied. I only shifted once against the Riziel player. I shifted and impermed him, and that was a game I lost with a set Solemn Strike on my Crypto. Shift is good. It wins games on its own if you draw it. Most of the times I draw into the Shifter and I just discard it. But yeah. MVP, the Rock. I rocked the Centurion player. I rocked the Maliss player twice. Like, I almost rocked the the Snake Eyes Fiendsmith, but he had cross out for the Nibiru. Nib is such a strong card. It's so underrated, and yes, by itself, Nib is one of the worst cards you can see. But if you pair Nib with an Imperm or an Ash, it is devastating. Like the Rock itself can single-handedly just win games. And yes, if you just play around Nib, you'll never be a great player. You must learn to play through Nib. And the problem is, it's easier said than done. There's a whole cliche that, oh, only bad players die to Nib. That's not true. Good players know how to use Nib. So this card, it's such a good card. But again, in one game, I drew Nib, he crossed out, draw for turn, Nib. So I drew 2 Nibs. Maybe that's just me shuffling my deck poorly because these things are double sleeved. Maybe they're all just getting stuck to one another. But yeah, I see you can play 2 Nib, but I definitely think Nib is a mainstay in the deck. Right now, absolutely. Going forward, there's arguments for Droll, Fluaris, but I don't have Fluaris. I do have Droll, but Droll conflicts with my Shifter, so I just scrapped the idea. And then my non-engine, Call by the Grave, Clutch, Call by, Dormouse on my opponent, Scoops. Terraforming, good card, can be cut, but same argument. If you draw no starter, you draw no engine, this could be your best friend. Goldsock, 3 talents, 2 allure. The allure number is right. I wouldn't play more, I wouldn't play less. The talents, on the other hand, I did talents take once. Could have won me a game, didn't do much. I drew talents quite a few times, but I got impulse and imperm. So like I said, talents, there's cards that play around it. When I play my locals, they play around talents like it's the plague, because they just know I'm like the guy that has 3 talents in the main. So there's arguments to cut talents to 2. There's arguments to maybe scrap talents altogether. But I like it. I think I said it the previous time. If there's a card currently in the game that is most likely to get limited, I feel it's talent. This is like gamma in my eyes. Like I said, back in the day when I used to play Dragon Link a lot, Chaos Space, Send, cool. Ash, guys, Chain Gamma, GG's. It's just like this, normal summon Dormouse. Effect, Veiler, Impa, whatever. Even if you just do Chessy Cat, they ash it. Now your talents is live. Talents, look at hand, rip a card. Now they need to play with 3 cards into a board. And a Maliss board with 3 cards in hand and your opponent knows what's in your hand is devastating. Like, your chances of winning just went down. Like, the deck already has a really high win percentage if your starters go through. And if you're getting talents, even a subpar board of SP pass is sometimes more than enough to obliterate a guy. With that, changes to be made. I am thinking of cutting the 1 talent to play 2 talent, despite me saying how great talent is. And that's only because today I picked up a card that I think is possibly enough to warrant the exchange. And I am trying to find it. I don't know where I put it. And talent, as much as I rave on about it, about how it could be the next banned card or limited card, because it's so strong, it's gamma on crack. That's because I think I can cut the 1 talent to play this card, which I genuinely feel is one of the strongest cards in the game by a landslide. Like, this alone just wins games on the spot. And if you pair Impulse with Nub, if you lose that game, if you draw like a starter, Impulse, Nub, and you lose the game, you should consider retiring. Like, yeah, Nub first, Impulse then. It's insane. I'm sad that I only got 1 Impulse right now. I'm supposed to get my second one today, but like I said, it's a flash flood. The guy who had my Impulse couldn't come through to the store to do a trade for it. And then I'm still waiting on my 1 more from Cape Town that my friend is trying to organize for me. So that's it. Let's go on to the links. Link decoder, Lingaribo again. Like I said, a Maliss player, this card is insanity. Against the Maliss guy, I just went Lingaribo and something else and passed turn. Because he stopped me. And on his turn, he goes Chessy Cat. He sets a card and goes Chessy Cat. And I'm like, correct. Imperm, Chessy. And he chains TB11 and I'm like, Lingaribo. Negate that thing. And now he's in such a detrimental position. Because, yeah, he got the draw 2. So he banished the white rabbit. He summoned his Chessy Cat. He summoned his white rabbit. And I'm like, so now what you going to do? He sets his GW06. He can't really use that well. It's a wasted card. So he's really in a situation now, and he doesn't really know what to do. So he goes Splash Mage and makes this really awful, weird combo line that he tried to do. And that's when I nibbed him for his life savings. And all he had is just GW06 and nib passing turn or something weak like that. So yeah, Lingaribo in the Maliss mirror match. Absolute insane of a card. Honorary, you need them. Lizard, Splash Mage. I made Lizard once, and I'm proud of that. I made Splash Mage 0 times, and I'm proud of that. The more and more I start going from Link 1 into Link 3, the more and more I realize my opponents don't know what to do. Like, they know Imperm Splash Mage, Ogre Haggard Lizardos, things like that. But once you start jumping loops, going from 1 to 3, it's like they just start, it's like just their plays go to mush. Like they don't really know what to stop because they don't know what the line you are going to make. So they now, like, on the back foot, they're like, okay, I need to see where else I can interrupt this person because I don't know this combo, I don't know this line. And that's what I really like. There's a really great Dragon Link duelist. His name is Harrison Nishaw from Australia. And like, this guy wins with Dragon Link in the most amazing ways and in the most hardest of formats. And whenever you watch his videos and listen to him, he keeps on saying he plays Dragon Link not to go Borderland Pass or Borderland Savage or whatever it is back in the day. He uses his dragons as a toolbox. He uses his entire extra deck as a toolbox to out things, to play around things, to play through things, as opposed to just tunnel vision going into the end board. Because even the Maliss end board, Griffin, a bow, dies to Impalm. Impalm the Griffin. Okay, well now I'm puzzling. So that's something to really look at, and that's something I really am looking to do more of, is to use my extra deck as a tool, as opposed to just like extender, board breaker or whatever. Because even if the board is small and you break the opponent's board, there's a high chance that you can beat them on the kickback, because your deck is just so explosive from so many cards, ranging from field spell to dormouse to trap card to white rabbit, like bestial. It's so much that can just kill them out of nowhere. The Phoenix never made it. Still think I need to keep it, just because of a bow, maybe, or back row. I really don't know. There's arguments that this could be cut. Dark the Dark Charmer. Like I said, this card is insane. I make Dark. Dark serves a twofold interruption. One, if it's a mirror match, your Maliss monsters are my Maliss monsters. If you made a full board, I'm making a full board. I could even steal your white binder, banish my stuff, and just go for game. This card single-handedly is so strong. And it just picks itself up randomly, like against the Centurion player. Dark take, threaten access code. And again, Dark, if it's destroyed, it adds full combo. Like, there's so many times that I just make the Dark of the Bestials, or I made Dark of a Bestial and a Nib token. And the Jerusalem sent the Nib, the token, the Jerusalem sent the Nib. And like, now the guy is in a situation because he's like, this Dark is going to go hard. So Dark, I think you should really consider playing it. It's a really good card. IP SP. I make SP to insulate my board slightly. So the board I made was SP White Binder. That's it. And I'm like, good luck. It sounds weak, but it's not. Because this SP can target the white binder and the card you control, banish them. The white binder is going to come back, draw one on special summon, banish from your grave, and you're just going full combo on their turn. So it's a really devastating board, and it just makes the Nib look so useless. Because you go Nib, chain SP, banish, target itself and the white binder, banish both. Now the Nib's dead. So SP, really good card. IP. Ironically, IP, I can see you cutting this. I said this last week, I'll say it again. IP is not that good. Like, it really isn't. There's no card that you really need to make, because like, the effect to not be destroyed by card effects, Domus does that itself. So like, you're just using the IP to quick link, which isn't amazing. So IP, I do see you cutting it. I do see a world where it's not needed. Maybe IP going forward with the new support is amazing. You can threaten, I don't know. I mean, turn one you're making Echoed, so maybe you threaten SP. Like, it's an Omni Negator now, SP. The Link 3s, one of each. Now, again, like I said, guys, Red Ransom is the play. And I was right. I was no longer trying to make these huge unbreakable boards. I was just using these links to threaten games. Because if you go to the link going second, and instead of extending further, you just make access code talker, they have to do something. Because if they don't, that access code talker is going to just end the game on the spot. I made this red ransom. I made this Hearts of Crypto with a Druid Swarm over here, and my opponent just like admits defeat. Because all he had was the Poplar and a call by the Great that he called by my link decoder. And I'm like, battle phase? Game? And he's like, how is this game? I'm like, well, one, Druid Swarm is going to attack your Poplar, you're going to take the damage, and then Crypto is going to attack you directly. And then Crypto is going to use its effect to banish itself and come back. And you can't even negate it because it's linked. And he's like, oh yeah. And then I'm like, on top of it, Crypto is boosted because of 1, Dormouse, and 2, when it comes back, it's 5k. And he's like, shucks, that was just an OTK out of the blue. Like, I only had 2 monsters on board, and I made the Crypto like within the third summon. Because I used the Druid Swarm to banish one of the names to come back, and I made link decoder, and then I made the Crypto, and it was just, the writing was on the wall. So yeah, red ransom, I didn't make it much. There is the combo again where you make the red ransom, banish off the TB11, summon the Chessie, red ransom, come back, banish the Chessie, draw 2 off your field spell. It is what it is. The only thing that this does that I like is when it comes back, you add follow-up, you add the field spell. That's about it. Firewall, didn't make it once. Access code talker, made it quite often. And then I made the Abao and Griffin once. I like the Abao Griffin, but it dies to so many hand traps. And today I had a really hard games because everyone hand trapped me. I didn't go uninterrupted once. I got hand trapped every game. I got stopped at multiple times. A lot of people put me off my link 3s, and the one time I made the Abao Griffin lock, he just impermed my Griffin, and I'm like, sure. Anyway, Abao carrying on, and I played on his turn and I killed him. Going to this extra deck, not extra deck, this is your side deck. 3 cross out, 3 Lancia, 1 Sanctum. Cross out is cross out. Like I said, in the Maliss mirror match, this just is FTK. Because I crossed, like I said, my friend Lancia'd me, and I'm like, sure, you Lancia me, it is what it is. And then I set the Sanctum, and he ashed the Sanctum, and I'm like, it is what it is. And I lost that game, but the next game, I go Duster, destroy his entire back row, and he chains MTP07 to try save himself, and I chain cross out. Because all he had was the nib token. And that one was a little bit nice. I almost misplayed by being an idiot, but I caught myself before I did it. I had the nib on field, and he had set back row. So he had 4 back row and 1 free zone. So on the free zone, I used the Duster. And then he changed the MTP07. And now I'm really like stressing, because I'm like, there's the imperm somewhere here. And I'm like, if I don't know where to place it. I'm worried where to place my cross out, because if I place it in the imperm column, he's just going to go imperm target my nib and negate my cross out. And I didn't realize, why am I thinking so hard? He just activated MTP07. Just put the cross out in that column. So I'm glad I thought about it. I knew it, but I just was really, it took me like 8 to 10 seconds to be like, oh shit, just put it there. So you catch yourself with these small things. Lightning Storm, Duster. It's Lightning Storm, Duster. This won me a game. More than once now. Like, you have to play them. You have to play back row. You have to respect back row. Maliss is just like Eldritch with Tempai in 1. It's like normal summon White Rabbit. Goes through. You're dead. I'm going to set so much of back row, and I'm going to end on this unbreakable board. Good luck. So the Duster, Lightning Storm's too clutch, too good. There is conflicting thoughts on this Storm, because the Storm into your Bastials is hard, Storm into your Nib is hard. So there's arguments that, hey, if you just leave your nib on board in attack position and leave the token in attack position, you can always just crash the nib lightning storm and then carry on from there. There is an argument to up the lightning storm, and I am considering it. Guys who played Solemn Strike, it's a trap card. You set it, I'm blasting it with these. The 3D barrier, I debarried the Centurion player called Synchro, debarried the Ryziel player called Xyz. That was it. It didn't do anything else. Again, arguments. You could play maybe 1D barrier or 2D barrier. I'm leaning on the fence on playing 2D barrier and finding something else to play. Because ironically, D barrier itself doesn't win games. It's like, I feel it just covers over my shortcomings as a player, because I'm just using D barrier to floodgate the decks that I don't know how to stop. But it's a strong card. I mean, they lance at me, I D barrier them. And then my 2 thrust to search any of this, including the Sanctum, is amazing. It never came out. I never thrusted anyone. Because again, cards like this exist now, where they're just using impulms and impulses to stop you. So your thrusts are really dead. And then Chaos Hunter. It can be cut. It stayed its course. I don't like it. I never used it. It never came up. It's just a brick. So this could be cut alongside maybe 1D barrier for 2 extra slots. I could look into putting 1 Ultimate Slayer and then 1 target, like maybe a detonator or an aggregator. Use the Ultimate Slayer to send the aggregator to out the detonator and to out the Ryziel cross. It's an option for me to look at. Like I told you guys, I took out Dotscaper. So just a quick thought on Dotscaper. Did I need it? Absolutely not. Did I miss it? Absolutely not. Should it be in the deck? No. I don't care what you say. Whether it be, oh no, you only take Dotscaper out after the new support drops. No, you take it out now. If I see a Maliss player summoning Dotscaper, I'm already like, have so much confidence that I'm going to win that game, because I'm like, you are playing a brick in your deck with extra bricks with Chessy Cat, and you're not confident. You don't know the lines to play around without Dotscaper. You're not confident in the kickback. You don't know about getting nibbed on your opponent's turn because you overextend. Like, if I see a Maliss player dropping the Dotscaper, I have the confidence in that. I feel like I can play my engine better than them, which is really saying something, because I misplay my engine every game. And if I'm saying I can play my engine better than you, you are really suffering. So that's it. 4-1, 4-0, and we won the locals. I pulled nothing good, so that's kind of sad. It's no alties were pulled, no secret rares were pulled. It was just a sad day at the office, as they say. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope you guys enjoyed my ranting a little bit and explaining my games, explaining where I went wrong, what to look out for, and how to improve. I know these videos are a little bit long, and that's fine. Like, you can skip through the middle part, which is just the cards that I'm playing, because that it doesn't change much. But the small little interactions, like where I misplayed, like not attacking for damage first and then making the crypto, so I played into the Solemn Strike. Those are things that I really hope you guys don't skip over, because those are things that you should really look into adding into your arsenal when you're dueling, and adding into your plays, like thinking about. Like, Yu-Gi-Oh is, it's such a game where you don't always know what your opponent has, but you have to make reads. You have to make reads as to what's in board, what's in hand, and what can potentially come out. And yeah, the more and more you play like that, the more you will improve. Absolutely. Not that I'm the greatest, but I'm learning. So thank you so much for watching. A little bit of a longer video. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I hope you're all staying safe. So take care, guys.